fossil fuel expansion in Latin America and the Caribbean. We, multiple organizations from Latin America and from Europe, so ARAYARA, Amazon Watch, FAR in Argentina, Conexiones Climáticas, and Urgewald, we published a report on the fossil fuel expansion and the financiers behind it, and today we're releasing the Portuguese and Spanish versions of this report. And for this, I will ask Hefa Schuki, the director of Urgewald, to show us the results.
Okay, could we show the first slide? Very good, thank you. It took us about a year to put this report together. We looked at fossil fuel expansion all across Latin America and the Caribbean, and went a step further to look at who's financing this. Next slide. Just to get a sense of how much fossil fuel expansion is going on. Over the past 10 years, since the Paris Agreement was signed, over 950,000 square kilometers were opened for new oil and gas exploration in Latin America and the Caribbean. That's an area about the size of Venezuela. Next slide. And over the past 3 years, oil and gas companies have spent over $28 billion in exploring for new oil and gas resources, and the #1 explorer in Latin America is the company Pemex, from Mexico, which you can see here is far ahead of the others. #2 is, however, Petrobras from Brazil. Next slide. If we look overall at upstream oil and gas expansion in Latin America, we can see that about 46% of the new oil and gas resources are being developed by companies headquartered in Latin America. European companies are responsible for 26% of new oil and gas resources under development, North American companies for 16%, and Asian companies for 10%. Next slide. And the lion's share of this new fossil fuel expansion is unconventional. 55% is in ultra-deep waters off the coast, so at depth below 1,500 meters, and 22% of the new oil and gas resources companies are planning to bring into production are fracking. Next slide. And in terms of upstream expansion, Petrobras in Brazil is again #1 and is responsible for 29% of the total oil and gas resources under development. But next in line is ExxonMobil from the US, YPF from Argentina, Chevron from the US, CNOOC from China, and Shell and Total Energies from Europe. Next slide. In the midstream, we also see huge infrastructure projects underway in Latin America. Next slide. And pipelines play a really crucial role here. There are over 8,800 kilometers of new oil or gas pipelines planned in the region. And if you would lay those back to one pipe next to the other, then it would reach all the way from Havana to the very southern tip of Chile. Next slide. And what pipelines do is, they essentially open up the possibility for extraction. This is a photo of Vaca Muerta, the world's second largest shale reserve. It's a carbon bomb, but what ignites the carbon bomb is the pipeline that connects it. And here we see that just in July, Citigroup, Deutsche Bank, Santander, JPMorgan, and Itaú Unibanco, that they gave the largest infrastructure loan that has ever been given to Argentina for the construction of a pipeline that leads that basically opens up Vaca Muerta. Next slide. Other critical infrastructure are LNG terminals, and we see that there are LNG import terminals planned with 36 million tons of regasification capacity. And on the export side, we see that there are LNG terminals planned with a liquefaction capacity of 97 million tons per annum. That's actually on the export side a 470% increase to what there is now. And most of the export terminals are planned in Mexico and Argentina, while the import terminals are largely planned in Brazil. Next slide. And we can see that over 54 gigawatt of new gas-fired power capacity are planned in the region, and 35 of those gigawatts are planned again in Brazil, and Mexico is the next country with the biggest gas-fired build-out. And of course, this is all at a time when this could be a renewable build-out. There's no reason to add new fossil capacity to our electricity systems, which have to become carbon neutral by 2040. Next slide. So, if we look at who's financing this, we can see that 92% of financing comes from outside of the region. And this is true even for state-owned Latin American oil and gas companies like Petrobras or Pemex or Petroperu. Next slide. All in all, in the past 3 years, commercial banks have channeled over $138 billion to oil and gas expansion activities in Latin America and the Caribbean. And 29% of that sum comes from European banks and 25% from US banks, 14% from Canada, and then 10% from Japan, 10% from China. That is the build-out. Fossil fuel expansion in Latin America would not be possible without without the participation of outside money. Next slide. And the top bank in our ranking is Santander, which contributed almost 10 billion to fossil fuel expansion in the region. And that's a little bit surprising because Santander is not the biggest bank in the world. It's number 18 by assets. Next in line is JPMorgan Chase, then Citigroup, and then Scotiabank, a Canadian bank, which again is sort of surprising since they're only number 37 in terms of global size in comparison to other banks. Next slide. On this institutional investor side, we found investments of 425 billion in companies that are expanding fossil fuels in Latin America and the Caribbean, and most of those investments come from the US, from the big asset managers like Vanguard and BlackRock. Next slide. And just to end here, I've tried to provide the numbers. The real stories will be told by Nicole and by Diana. And organizations, indigenous organizations, civil society organizations throughout the world are fighting finance for fossil fuels because we all realize that as long as the money keeps flowing, the temperatures are going to keep on rising. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Helfa. Next in our panel is Nicole Oliveira, Executive Director of ARAYARA International Institute.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for enduring the heat during this press conference. Can you put my slides up, please? Thank you.
Next one.
Next one, please. One more? Yes. So I'm here to talk about the Amazon, where we are, and how it's threatened by oil and gas expansion. A little bit about ARAYARA. So we are an organization that exists since more than 30 years, and we do knowledge production, advocacy work, litigation, and campaigns and strategic communication throughout Brazil and Latin America, and partner with different organizations such as Urgewald. During the time of work that we've done with ARAYARA, we left already 3 carbon bombs in the ground, and we do this by banning new projects or fighting policies. So we have a lot of examples of fossil fuel projects that we left in the ground in Brazil. As Rafa mentioned, Latin America is really under threat of expansion, both on the upstream, midstream, and downstream. There's many projects in different places, and especially in the Amazon. Next, please. So Amazon is the most endangered biome right now. We have, as you all know, it creates rain systems for the whole continent. It's responsible for 10% of the planet's biodiversity. And when everyone thinks about the Amazon, everyone thinks of this picture, which is a forest with river and a lot of dense trees. But Amazon is also house of 2.7 million indigenous people, and also house of mangroves. And there is 14,000 square kilometers of linear mangroves in the Amazon coast. And the mangroves are important for a number of things, both holding the climate balance, but also holding the water from sea level rise and the breeding grounds for sea life. And the Amazon coast is also a house of fishing communities and traditional fishers who have 120,000 communities who depend and live on fishing. So in the Amazon coast, we have the Great Amazon Reef System, which is also important for the reproduction of biodiversity species and fishes. But the Amazon is really under stress. Everyone knows we have a big deforestation. This year it decreased, but we still have 55 million hectares of deforested forest. We are reaching a tipping point where there's no return. So it really is a biome that needs protection and our attention. And then when we look at the oil and gas blocks that are exposed in the Amazon, we see that there's 126 oil and gas blocks already under exploration in the Amazon, 10 million hectares at risk, 14,000 square kilometers of mangrove, and 2.7 million indigenous people at risk. Unfortunately, my presentation is a bit off, but as you can see in the map, the blocks of oil and gas in the Brazilian Amazon are really coming through, and the darker ones are the ones that are already under exploration, but the yellow ones are the ones I want you to look at, and these are the ones that are being studied. And this is the proportion of the expansion of fossil fuel drilling that are being proposed in the Amazon right now. Next, please. And the companies that are doing the exploration in the Amazon, 72% of this expansion is Eneva. And Eneva is it's a Brazilian company drilling for gas in the forests in the Amazon. And Petrobras, as Rafa mentioned, is the lead of the offshore expansion of fossil fuels. It's a company that has been drilling ultra deep waters in a very delicate system, and they have just got the license to drill in the Amazon coast on the famous Block 59. And can you go back one, please? Thank you. So Block 59 is a block that is in the border of Brazil and Guyana. It's really far from here where we are, Belém. It's 800 kilometers away, but Belém is still the operational headquarter of this block, because the rest of the coast has not even have roads because it's so protected. And Petrobras is really pushing for the drilling. And can you go back one more to the map? One more? One more? Yeah, there. So Block 59 is way up there in the border, and it's a gate entryway to the rest of the Amazon. So it's really important that everyone understands that there's 123 blocks waiting to be licensed in the Amazon coast, and there's 300 more who are being studied to be drilled. And if this reality comes true, we're going to have the whole Amazon coast under siege and being explored for drilling. Now the last slide, please. So what we did with ARAYARA, with different organizations, we filed a lawsuit against the exploration, against this license of Block 59. And the last one, please. O último. Thank you. And this license happened without consultation of indigenous communities, which is by legislation required, with an outdated hydrologic database for the oil spill modeling, and without a climate emission estimate and a plan for decreasing or mitigation. So this is really serious. On COP30, we need to discuss the place where we are. Belém is going to be heavily impacted by this infrastructure, and the whole Amazon is also at risk. So I ask you all to join us and in our campaigns. We have a space here called the Amazon Climate Hub. It's a house that has a lot of events that have been discussing oil, but also energy transition, indigenous rights, consultation, and a lot of issues. So I invite you all to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Next one on our panel is Diana Chavez, leader of international relations of the Kichwa Nationality of Pastaza.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to be, it's okay?
One more thing. If you need interpretation, are you going to speak in English?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I guess we are a democracy. Can you raise your hands? Who can speak English? Okay. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. This is a privilege that I am able to speak in English, coming from South America, Ecuador, in the Amazon region. In my region, there are only 2 people that have a PhD, for example. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I know that some of you are hungry, maybe. Please just allow me to 5 minutes to speak about what is happening right now in Ecuador. The Ecuadorian government has already announced the intention to expand the oil frontier through the Sur-Oriente, Subandina rounds. They are already sending to licitation, and it covers more than 3 million hectares in the Amazon region, where we indigenous people live there, are the owners of the land. This expansion contradicts the commitment that here in the COP the countries are saying, but of course in the territories, in the House, it's behind doors, another thing is happening. One of the things that you already mentioned, sorry I forgot your name, it's as always happening in other places. The Ecuadorian government are thinking that this land is empty space, ignoring our rights to consultation and free and prior informed consent. And of course, our national decision to live there in the Amazon, because we already were consulted. We have declared on land as causa xacha, a living land, selva viviente. We have, Ecuador is one of the few countries that recognize the rights of nature, for example. And moreover, the Ecuadorian state has failed to repair the damages caused by more than 6 decades of oil exploitation that left behind pollution, poverty, and displacement. And that's why this is happening in the north of already happening in the north of the Ecuadorian region in the Amazon. But the new expansion is going to happen in the land of at least another 7 nations live there. So we don't want what already happened in the north to happen in our place. So while we're here, we already asking you, please, I know that you have friends, you have a wife, husband, boyfriend, friends, that you can please help us to and tell all the countries what is happening in Ecuador. We need more people to talk about this. And also we already mentioned this research helps us to prove that the money that people are investing is not going for the greater benefit for all, because there are people that is getting left behind, There is land that is being destroyed. We already have the proof of that. And I guess one of the things is to let investors know that in our territories, they are going to find resistance. You are going to find people that are already organized. Like us, the Kichwa Nation from Pastaza and all the 7 nations that live in that land, our forest is not a resource. It's the source of life. Every new well will meet resistance. They need to know that. Please help us to spread the word. And we're going to continue talking about this, trying to stop, because now here at COP20, people are talking about just transition. So we need to start thinking how we're going to move forward to the just transition, because it must include a clear and irreversible commitment to end fossil fuel expansion and establish legally protected exclusion zones as the Amazon region, and safeguard the climate stability, and of course respect our indigenous people's rights. That's all.
Thank you, Diana. And thank you all for being here. We have time for another question. In the meantime, I want to say this report is just the beginning. We are continuing to work together, and I'm very excited about this whole project together. If you have more questions, or if you want to download the report, you can find it online on whofundsfossilfuels.com in Portuguese, Spanish, and English. All 3 versions are up there now. And if you want to talk to any of the speakers, we will be outside still, and are up for a chat. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we have a press release here in case somebody wants a short version of the findings.